Good afternoon and welcome to NYFP. In midday trade on this Friday, we are seeing the Dow and S&P 500 trade slightly below the flat line. Joining me this afternoon to weigh in on the market action is Peter Cardillo of Rockwell Global Capital. Peter, good afternoon. Thanks for joining me today.
Good to be back.
Well, we finally got the U.S. first quarter 2013 GDP reading, and it did come in below expectations, but we still got an expansion of 2.5%, and there's some bright spots in the data. But given that we saw consumer sentiment slightly below the previous month's reading, what do you make of what we're seeing in the equity market?
Well, to begin with, it wasn't a surprise for me that gross domestic product came in at 2.5%. In fact, actually, that's what I was looking for. And it was all in all a pretty good number, you know, but that certainly reflects spending that took in the holiday season in the previous quarter. So we did see consumer spending up a bit, and we also saw, you know, housing fare quite nicely. And as a result of that, we saw growth basically come in at a respectable level. But I do want to caution that we're probably going to see much lower growth in this quarter, perhaps maybe around 1.5%, and that when they probably get finished revising the 2.5% number, it'll probably be somewhat lower, closer to maybe 2%. So that takes us back to one big problem that we have, and that's a problem of the fear factor, and as well as corporate psychology. Now, by that I mean, you know, the effects of the sequester have finally showed up here, and they're beginning to take a bite out of economic activity. So going forward, I think we need to expect slower growth, and that just simply means that the Fed is not going to have an early exit to its stimulus program. Stimulus programs are going to have to stay in place. And as far as the European Central Bank is concerned, I think there's a good chance, 50-50 chance at this point, that they will have to cut rates.
Well, Peter, you answered a lot of questions right there that I did want to ask you regarding next week. We do have the ECB, BOE, as well as the Fed meeting taking place. And as you mentioned, it does look as though the Fed stimulus is here to stay, given where we are in terms of jobs. And at the end of next week, we get the April jobs report. So given that we have the jobs report, the central bank rate decisions, as well as global PMI manufacturing, what can we expect heading into the upcoming week?
Well, you know, earnings are still going to be around, although I think the real focus shifts to this heavy economic calendar that we have. And, of course, the big report of the month, which is the labor report, I think is going to be somewhat disappointing in terms of market expectations. I'm looking for 115 non-farm payrolls, and the total unemployment rate inching up to 7.7%. And most of that, obviously, will be due to the fear factor of the sequester, which is going to show up even in the employment data. So, you know, it'll be a heavy week in terms of data. We'll be getting housing data, we'll be getting construction numbers, we'll be getting manufacturing numbers, we'll be getting U.S. productivity numbers, and all of which I think will reflect slower economic activity.